Hey, welcome to this edition of Peep Show Talk. And I'm excited. We've got a great guest today. Someone, if you're active on Facebook, you definitely know him. He seems to have every photo taken during World War II, and he posted on many of the different groups. But today we have Mario Maipid of the Louisville area. Say hi to Mario.
Hello, everyone.
So you seem like you're always doing something. And one moment you're selling T-shirts that are slamming Hondas versus Jeeps. Another time you're real busy with your chapter, and you're a very very busy guy from what it seems like, especially in the military vehicle community, and pretty well known by a lot of people. But they may not know the guy behind it. Of course, I've met you at a couple conventions.
Mm-hmm.
So, typically we have a couple questions that we talk about that we'll come back to later. The question that we'll talk about later will be what makes a successful MVPA chapter. But also then our hot take at the very end will be who made a better Jeep, Ford or Willys. And I think I know which direction you're going to go on this one, but we'll come back to that one.
Uh-huh.
So, how did you get into Jeeps?
Well, I hail from the Philippines, and the country's just filled with Jeeps. Anywhere you go, there's going to be Jeeps around you. I'm referring to the World War II Jeeps that were initially modified to become a public transportation, mass transportation, which we call the jeepneys. And I grew up around that environment, and then I kind of picked up the bug on the World War II Jeeps when I was actually in second grade. My family owned an automotive shop, and one of our mechanics one afternoon was working on a jeepney, which later on I found out it wasn't really modified as much as the other Jeeps, but he made it as a public transportation jeepney. But he was working on it. He had the hood propped, and I just noticed that the headlight was flipped towards the engine bay, and so he pointed out to me that it's a Ford feature. So then I asked, "What do you mean by Ford?" I thought all these Jeeps were Willys, and that's when I got the bug of probably down the road, if I'm gonna ever own a Jeep in my life, I'm gonna have a Ford Jeep. And so that's and that kind of stayed with me on and off through the years. And but the other thing that not everyone is familiar with is that in the Philippines we actually have nicknames for the different era Jeeps. The World War II Jeeps, the MBs and the GPWs, and extending to the M38, were actually nicknamed MacArthur Jeeps after General Douglas MacArthur. And the M38A1 Jeeps were called the Eisenhower Jeeps. And then moving on to the Vietnam era, the MUTs, we call them the Kennedy Jeeps.
Okay.
So for the longest time in adult life, I wasn't really familiar with the M151s or the MUTs or the M38s, because we in the Philippines, that's how we call the Jeeps. We have nicknames as MacArthur, Eisenhower, and Kennedy Jeeps.
Okay. And I pulled up a picture of I think as a typical jeepney. Is that fair?
Yes, that is.
So I think it's been modified slightly. Can you maybe talk about some of the modifications that are typically done?
From the World War II Jeep, or even from the M38s, what they did was they extended the tub to be able to accommodate more passengers. So some of these Jeeps can handle, just on the back side, probably 8 to 10 passengers on each side. And there's been a move in the Philippines lately that they want to outlaw the jeepneys, but I don't think that's going to happen because of traffic congestion. They're wanting more to go to the more bigger modes of transportation like the buses. But I think the Jeeps will always stay in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean MD1 is located there, and
yes.
Without MD1, half the Jeeps that are out there right now in the field wouldn't be on the road because
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But again, I've been showing some different pictures. Are these pictures I'm showing, are those typical jeepneys?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, well those are fun.
Yeah. The other thing that during my time in the Philippines, uh, I came to the States when I was 21. I've lived here longer than I've lived in the Philippines. But during my time, especially in the 70s, um, for civilian Jeeps, they started making stainless body Jeeps, and those became very popular. And the only negative thing about it being stainless, at night when the lights shine against the body, that they would reflect back. So at one point they tried to outlaw stainless Jeeps, but the manufacturers decided to buff out the shine or the sheen on the stainless.
So that
And
would
that's
be
the only.
like from the glare of the headlights might
Yeah,
confuse,
yeah.
like get in the way. Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, but I know of two Jeeps, stainless Jeeps, that are here in the States, and uh, you know, being stainless, they're gonna last. Yeah, most of these stainless body Jeeps were patterned after the M38 bodies.
Hmm. So do you have any desire to build a, you've got your GPW, which I think everyone knows about. Any desire to build a jeepney for here?
I've got a friend of mine that's he's retired Navy and was stationed in the Philippines. So he's been convincing me or trying to convince me for the past few years to try to get one. So I'm not really sure, but uh, what I'm looking at, if I'm ever going to get another Jeep, I want a Ford GP.
Gotcha. And that's kind of where I was at in terms of my slack grill, and that I want
Mhm,
another Jeep, but I really like my GPW, but it's a pretty basic Jeep. Mine's a script,
mhm,
but
mhm,
I wanted something that was just a little bit different.
mhm,
And so and I fell into that project. So
mhm.
you do quite a bit with Ford there. Louisville has the Ford truck plant, is that right?
Yeah, the
I'm
Ford
sure
truck
my
plant, the Louisville assembly plant. Yes.
Yeah, my F-350 was built there. So, and you
Okay.
worked there as a contractor?
Yes, I was a contract training provider. We delivered technical courses on site, and I was with that project for almost 20 years. I was in 24 Ford plants in 14 states. So I
Okay.
traveled. I traveled a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my friends who works on my GPW with me sometimes works at Clay Como
Mm.
and they're actually getting ready to start building the jump. They make the Sprinter vans, I think they are,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting ready to start the electric version of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you haven't noticed, there's a lady on the top of my hat here. Here, let me
Mm-hmm.
get out of the way so you can see her. She's way more interesting than I am. Why don't you tell us about this lady?
Yeah. The lady riding that last Jeep is Jin Lindahl Yui. Um, she worked at the Ford plant here in Louisville and at the mailroom, from what I understand from the family. And sh- she was the perfect selection for somebody to be doing this photo op, because she was Miss Photogenic of 1944 USA, and I don't think it was by no mistake that they picked her for this photo shoot. And she was 17 or 18 years old at the time when this photo was taken in July 1945. Both her parents also worked at the Ford plant. Her dad was a parts supervisor, so I would have loved to meet him, And her mom worked at the mailroom likewise.
Okay.
But yeah, so
And that would be at what would be the old Ford plant, which is down on what, like the
um,
western
yeah,
end of town?
Southwestern Parkway. Yeah, the building itself is still there.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
last year, I think it was purchased by a recycling company, but they're not allowed to tear down the facade of the building because of the architectural value, historical value of the building.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah, when I went down for the Louisville convention, I swung by there, and you can still kind of see where the big showroom was in the front, and the ramps where the vehicles came out of it, and
Mhm.
you can kind of, if you do a little bit of research, you can kind of figure out where everything was, and I thought it was pretty cool. So you've got a couple different photos here of her, and here's the Louisville newspaper
Mhm.
where
Yeah, that's the one that was published almost like 3 weeks after the photo was taken. Yeah, announcing Ford's civilian production, resuming after the war contract ended.
those pictures are different, aren't they? It looked like the look
Yeah,
on her
yeah, yeah.
the
Yeah,
look on her
they were
face is
different.
slightly different.
Yeah, yeah. There was different angles of that photo. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so maybe the the more famous photo was taken maybe by Ford or someone else, and then the other one was
Mhm.
taken by the newspaper.
Yeah, yeah.
So, new cars due in few days in Louisville showroom. The 1946 Ford rolls off the assembly line. You know, my dad, actually, my family is a big Ford family. In fact, at my
Mhm.
dad's funeral, we that was one of the things that they talked about in his eulogy is how he wouldn't drive anything but a Ford. I think my family owned one other car besides a Ford, and I think it was maybe a Nash or something like that.
Mhm.
Um, and they didn't like it, and they immediately went back to Ford. My dad only owned Fords his entire life. So okay, so here's a picture of Jean in more
Yeah,
recent
this was
times.
taken shortly after I found her. um, it was during the state fair in 2019, I believe, that my GPW was on display at the state fair, and this as part of their educational exhibit, and it was Heather French Henry, the former Miss America 2000, that set up the display. And we were looking at the newspaper article because we had a photo of that newspaper article as part of the display. And she made a comment that, next year would be, I guess the following year, 2020, would be the a significant year for women. And so she said that what would be nice if we can find a living relative of this young lady and recreate this photo at the plant. So I just took off with that with the help of a friend that does genealogy. I was surprised that uh, we were able to locate her, and I was surprised that she was still alive. Because I was just hoping for a living relative, and this friend of mine found her. She was living in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and so the family was gracious enough to allow me to communicate with Jean and all that. And they were really surprised that, after all these years, somebody was showing interest in what their mom did in the 40s.
How old was
And
she about this time? She'd be what, mid 80s?
no, this picture, she was, I believe, 92 or 93. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she looks great. I hope,
Yeah.
she
Yes.
she did pretty well for all the wear and tear. She's wearing one of your shirts there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So
I sent
how
her.
shocked was she with, like, did she even remember the picture, or did
Yes. As a
she?
matter of fact, later on, here recently, when I visited her back in July, um, she has the picture, an original copy of the picture in her albums. And one of the things that happened was when I first got the phone call from her son. The first thing I asked her son was, "I don't want to be rude, but is your mom still able to travel?" And sure enough, he said, "Yeah, she travels a lot. As a matter of fact, we just came back from California." And so then I just went right on saying, "Hey, uh, we want to recreate your mom's photo at the Ford plant. Would that be possible? Would you guys consider it?" And the son, Mark, bounced it off her mom, and Jean was so excited, and he said that Jean put it in the calendar because we were looking at August of that year. Uh, and Then I got a card because after that she was living in a assisted living facility,
Mm-hmm.
and she started taking out her albums from the 1940s, from the time she became Miss Photogenic USA, and after she graced a lot of magazines in the 1940s, and I guess she had a lot of scrapbooks. So the community she was living in didn't realize that they had a celebrity around them, and so that
Yeah.
kind of energized her because I got actually a card from the family thanking me for finding her because it just rejuvenated Jean.
Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how, such big achievements and things like that are just, they just become commonplace to the person and they don't even carry them down. And
Mhm.
I had a I worked with a honor flight guy who he kind of told me a story and briefly, and it turns out that he was in this horrible fight in Vietnam, and there were like 30 guys, and half of them were wounded, and his family had no idea, absolutely no idea.
Mhm.
And of course, it's his choice whether or not to talk about it. So I put together a bunch of newspaper clippings and things like that, and gave it to him and said, "Hey, you know, thank you for what you did. I'm glad you made it and made it through that. And here's some of the stories of the other people that you serve with that you may not have heard of anything about. And look at this when you're ready, and do with it as you wish."
Mhm.
So, but you can just
I
tell. You can just tell how
yeah,
photogenic she is in that picture.
yeah,
She's just lovely.
yeah. I pretty much did the same thing. Before I went on searching for her, I did my homework. I browsed the archives of the local paper, the Courier Journal,
Hmm.
and I clipped all the articles in reference to her, and I made a sort of a scrapbook, and that's what I mailed to the family, so they know that it's legit what I'm doing. That because they don't know me from Joe. So, but yeah, I sent them all the clippings that I had to show them that that we're really doing a research, and we'd love to have her back here in Louisville.
Hmm.
Yeah, that photo you have there was taken July 30th of last year. That was at her home, and that would have been the 76th anniversary of when the photo was taken at the plant.
Hmm.
And I just didn't want to have that day go by, without recognizing. So I reached out to a local MVPA chapter in Texas, the Arrowhead chapter,
Hmm.
and there in the photo are the two the officers of the club, the president and the vice president. And so uh, we we made an arrangement to visit, but I wasn't going to be part of the visit first. uh, but it just so happened that I was close by. I was in Wichita, and so I just decided last minute, even though like I said, the two guys from Arrowhead chapter were going to be there. I decided to join them, but the family didn't know. The family knew that at least the son and the daughters, and knew that they were going to get a visit, but Jin didn't know. Uh, then I just showed up in the front door, and they were just all surprised.
Yeah, yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
And she passed away a couple months ago. Is that right?
Yeah, no, actually 2 days after this photo was taken.
Okay.
uh, So this was on a Friday. Then Monday morning, I get a phone call. I knew something wrong had happened, because when I saw on the caller ID it was her son calling me, I knew that something happened. So yeah, 2 days after this photo was taken, um, she passed away. And one thing I want to add is, when I left my visit with Jean, one of her sons made um, made the statement that the circle is now complete. And that didn't really, I was thinking, what an odd statement to make.
Hmm.
And then later when I found out that, yeah, they said that Gene was really looking forward to visiting Louisville, wanted to meet a lot of the Jeep owners and all that. As a matter of fact, months before this, um, I had some pictures, that black and white picture printed, and I was going to send it to her for her to autograph it, because I made one run prior to that, which I used as a fundraiser for the event, and but there were more demand for the picture, so I had another 50 prints made, and I told Mark, I said, "Hey, Mark, I'm going to mail another set of 50," and he said, "Well, why don't you just wait until Mom gets to Louisville, because she'll enjoy signing those in person."
Hmm.
So,
Wow. I just love that story.
mhm.
And I think I really think you had an impact on her. So I just love her backdrop with the American flags. It looks like she married a Navy guy.
Yeah, Navy guy, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we won't hold that against her,
yeah,
but
yeah. As a matter of fact, about a month before my visit, she sent me a video, pretty much like apologizing for not being able to make it, but she said maybe next year, because, she's referring to the COVID conditions that kind of shut down all the plans. But she was saying, hey, Mario, tell the guys that I'm sorry that I couldn't make it this year, maybe next year, so.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's such a great story. So I understand you're very active with your local MVPA chapter. Let's
Yes.
shift gears to that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm currently serving my second year in a 2-year term as president of the Kilroy Chapter MVPA.
Okay, sorry, we had to do that. I believe that's obligatory for when the president shows up. So
Yeah.
you just shifted from being Mario to the president.
Uh-huh.
So you're president of the Kilroy Chapter. Kilroy Chapter is one of the more active ones in the United States.
Yes, but the club actually started in 2004. That's when it became affiliated with the MVPA. But the initial members came from a club that actually were gathering as military vehicle enthusiasts in the Louisville area since the beginning in the 80s, I believe. And they were meeting once a week, from what I understand, at Fort Knox. Fort Knox provided them an old barracks for them to use. And then when the barracks were being torn down, they lost their venue.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to regroup. So in 2004, they decided to form Kilroy. And Kilroy stands for Kentucky, Indiana Liberated Relics of Yesteryear. And they got affiliated with the MVPA. Yes, I wrote an article for my first term as Kilroy president last year, and it's published in the MVPA magazine, that my first year was COVID happened. And so, I was thinking, dang, what am I going to do? Everything's being shut down. But at the end of the year, I kind of added up all the activities that we were doing. And in spite of all the shutdowns, and we managed to be busy. We were supporting a lot of veterans for their birthdays. We were doing drive-bys.
Mm-hmm.
We were also the sad thing about it is some of them have passed away, and we've been requested to provide the funeral for those individuals.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to keep true with our mission of supporting veterans and the different veteran organizations. So most of our events that we get involved with always has a veteran link to it.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm most jealous that you guys have a Mission barbecue, that you guys do a lot of events. And Mission actually provided our meals during our honor flights, and we'd eat at the Air Force Memorial in DC, and they'd show up in a deuce and a half or a 5-ton and deliver our barbecue. I love that place. I wish we would get one here.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, so you've got a show coming up, I believe, that's just announced, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, let me pull up the flyer. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, we're launching a military vehicle show swap meet in October. And the idea actually came up because, a lot of our members, we drive 2 different shows throughout the year, driving 300, 400, 500 miles from Louisville. And then, Kilroy hosted 2 national conventions.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, well, the members that were involved in the national conventions are still around. Why don't we do something that we can call our own event? Because like I said, we support other events around the local area and regionally. So I said it's about time that we do something on our own, and hopefully this will be a success that people will look forward to our show moving on for the following years.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a matter of fact, when I announced it, I said I'm calling it first annual show. One of our members said, well, why don't we just announce it as the second annual one, so people are going to wonder when the first one was.
Right. Right. So it's at the what Bullitt County Fairgrounds in
Yeah,
Shepherdsville,
yeah,
Kentucky.
Shepherdsville, Kentucky.
So
Yes,
if you aren't
and
familiar, this would be Louisville up here. This would be Ohio, or
mhm.
Indiana would be over here. Ohio would be over somewhere over
So
here.
it's going to be south of Louisville. It's about I guess about 10 miles south of Louisville. It's an easy on off from the Interstate I-65.
Hmm.
So more
Well, Fort
details
Knox would
will
be kind of in this area, I think,
yes, it's going to be on the
the north side of Fort
uh,
Knox.
it's no if yeah, in a way, yeah. From the place, it's going to Fort Knox is going to be on the west
Okay.
side of the fairgrounds. Yeah, and I'm also we're already working something with the Patton Museum, which I don't know if you're familiar. It's under new management, and the new guys running the Patton Museum have reached out to us last year. They want to do things with Kilroy, and last night when they heard about this event, they wanted to make sure that they're part of the event. So uh, we're making arrangement that that the people that will be attending our show will also be able to go to the Patton Museum.
Okay. So I'm showing the fairgrounds here,
Mhm.
and right next to that would be the interstate. So it is very
Yes,
easy to get to.
yeah,
And then, so it
and
looks
the
like
exit,
if you're
yeah,
coming
yeah,
from the north, you just head south on what is it, I-65? Is that right?
65, yes, yes,
And then just exit right on the south end.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're
Wow.
gonna have there's three buildings under roof, and those will be made available to vendors and also for show vehicles. So but we have a lot of space for outdoor vendors too. And we've already contacted the local group that of reenactors. So we're planning to have a living history camp, a World War II living history camp, and a Vietnam living history camp.
Mhm. And Shepherdsville is where 14th Armored is, isn't it? Is that
Yes,
where the
exactly.
workshop
Yeah,
is?
yeah, yeah. Member of the 14th Armor was in our meeting last night, who also happens to be a Kilroy member. So, provided there's no conflicting events in their calendar, they're probably going to have at least the Stewart tank there at the show too.
Cool. Cool. Well, I'm excited for you. It sounds like a fun event. Okay, so let's switch over to our topic of the day, which is what makes for a successful MVPA chapter. I mean, you're at the head of a very active organization. What do you think an organization needs to stay healthy and be a contributing member to the organization?
Well, based on my experience this past year, and uh, to be successful, you need to keep the members really interested um, in your meetings. It's for me, it's almost like a full-time job. Uh, uh, Prior to my taking over as president of the club, um, our meetings, they lasted 2 hours, but uh, the attendance was, it was decent. But since I took over and they saw that, that I come prepared for the meetings with an agenda and all that, our meetings attendance has increased, and our membership has increased through the past year. Uh, and I attribute that to being seen by the community, because the club needs to grow, like the what the MVPA is experiencing right now. A lot of the old timers are up in years, and so we need to get the younger members interested, and that's one of the things we started doing. When we go to events, we tell them that military vehicle ownership is not really a requirement.
Hmm.
Just the interest in history and the vehicles will take you in. And since then, like I said, our membership has increased, and then attending events. So we're not selective. The only thing is, I can't mandate attendance to any of the events that we get invited to, but we manage to be out there and be seen by the community. And when we're out there, that's when we talk to people, we talk to veterans. And as a matter of fact, the last 2 months of the year, we've had 8 members that individuals that eventually signed up, that I met during the state fair. And they all came up and says, Mario, I talked to you in the state fair. I can't remember who I talked to. I talked to thousands of people, but and they said, yeah.
I'm pretty sure people can remember you, Mario. You're one of a kind.
So they showed up in our meetings and they said, yeah, we met you and talked to you at the state fair. And as a matter of fact, at that state fair, if I have the time. So I was talking to a couple that approached me and they told me, tell us about the Ford Jeep. I said, what about the Ford? Well, first, we didn't know that Ford made Jeeps. I said, okay. So I started going back to the history and all that. And then I told them that, the Jeep was made at the Louisville plant. And, it's one of five, excluding the main plant that produced Jeeps during World War II. And then after I finished my spiel, the wife of this guy said, well, my husband works for Ford Motor Company. He's the comptroller from Detroit assigned to the Louisville assembly plant. And I said, oh. And he said that, that he wasn't testing me at all. He really wanted to know the history of the plant. And then he was just newly assigned to the Louisville assembly plant. And he asked me, if I had any connections with the plant. And I told him my background, and all that. Oh, okay. Because for the last 4 years prior to the COVID, my Jeep has been on display every Veterans Day or the day before Veterans Day at the plant, at the Louisville assembly plant, for the workers to know the history of the plant. So I would have my display set up and I'd stay there pretty much for all the 3 shifts running at the plant, talking about the history of the Louisville assembly plant's World War II production.
Mm-hmm. In fact, let me just pull that up right now because I shot some photos of the plant, and I bet a lot of people who own GPWs that were built there have never actually seen the building.
Mm-hmm.
So these would have been the year of the convention, which was what, maybe 2019, 2018?
2018, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so this would be the front of the building.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I believe the warehouse would have been, or the showroom would have been
yeah.
over in this area.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a 1-story building.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can't get too far in the back because there was a fence, but I mean, just look at this work. Mm-hmm. The workmanship of all the tile and things like that. And this is a car plant.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is not some hotel or anything like that. I mean, look at the detail on this. Is that like a portico? Would that be the right term?
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, look at the metal work and stuff on it. Absolutely amazing. I wish I had taken my Jeep and parked it out there and taken a few pictures, but and I believe this would have been the door where Jeeps came out of. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's the rollout. Yeah, that's where the Jeeps rolled out from. Yeah.
So if you had a GPW built at the Louisville plant, it went through this threshold.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then again, there's another view of it, and there's the side of it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a video of it. Actually, I'm here at the Ford Louisville plant on 1400 South Western Boulevard, and it's a massive building. It's for sale right now, $3 million. Anyone like to buy it? These are some rail tracks that went in and out of the building. I guess that's how they got the parts. This place opened in 1924, I believe, and closed in the 50s. You can't really see anything inside the building itself. To back out a little bit, show you the entrance. The windows are all kind of opaqued, or it's just so dark in there you can't see. It looks like there's there's plastic over it, black plastic. That's why you can't see in. So anyway, look at this thing. Look at all of the ornate brickwork. It's in a factory, and look at this entrance. The cover over it. It's pretty cool. And I guess this is who owns it now, but they're trying to sell it. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. It's marked for $3 million. Just keep walking here. We're almost to the other side. Again, it shows you how big it is.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about the sun. It's kind of washing it out a little bit. Of course, I was trespassing. I didn't trespass too much. Door there. Looks like that was part of the building. Vehicles may have come in and out of that. And here's the other side. I can't get the back side because it's locked. So anyway, this is the Ford Louisville plant. Apparently it closed in the 50s and moved to another location. So if you have a Ford GPW that was built in Louisville, this is where it's at. Okay, so they built what? GPWs and GTBs there?
GTBs, yes. Yeah.
And GPAs were built somewhere else. Were built up in Michigan.
Yeah, right now I have one member within Kilroy that actually has one of the special Navy contract Jeeps built in October 42. So we're restoring that Jeep, and so hopefully we'll be able to put it out and show people this special contract. It's one of 635 or 53 special contract Jeeps made by the Louisville plant October 42.
Mm-hmm. Are there any unique characteristics of that, or were they just a standard?
They were just a standard, they just blocked off 653 Jeeps and sent it to the Navy.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I kind of ran down a rabbit hole there with the video of the plant. Yeah. I forgot that I had that in the pictures. Mm-hmm. I forgot I had the video. I knew I had the pictures, but I just kind of ran across them. I'm like, oh, we should look at this. Anything else for making a successful chapter? Again, you said, and we kind of got there by you talking about the guy with the Ford plant.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you need to keep your meetings really interesting for the members, and you need to get them to have part of the meeting for the members to be contributing something. Because the thing that I tell my members, this is not my club. This is not me. This is your club. So if you want it to be successful, you all need to do something that will make it live longer and increase the membership. So all our activities, I try to make sure that the members are participating. Like I said, even the members that don't have any vehicles, I encourage them to tag along, ride shotgun. Because in some of the shows, if you're the only one there, sometimes it's hard to walk away from your vehicle. So, yeah, I'm seeing more of our members that don't have vehicles yet attending these events, and we take turns watching our vehicles, especially if they're out there for public display.
Yeah, they don't have vehicles yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you can get vaccinated for the OD disease. I think it gets worse as you grow older.
Yeah, I've been some of the members, they said that I live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, Kilroy and Ford GPW.
Yeah, it's like a friend of mine when he was Kiwanis Club president. We met on Thursdays. He's like, every day is Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the same thing for you. So, okay, let's move on to our hot take on things. Who made the better Jeep, Ford or Willys?
Oh boy, you're putting me on the spot there. Well, it's
that's the whole idea of the question, is to put you on the spot.
It's supposed to be the standardized Jeep, G503, model GPW and Willys model MB. So for me, what is really important is to keep these vehicles alive. So those of us in the community that's out there scoring the different barns, and trying to find military vehicles in general to restore. That's what it's all about for me. So whether you have a Willys MB or a Ford GPW, just to have a World War II Jeep is in itself an accomplishment.
Okay, you're dodging the question.
Well, for me, there's features that Ford improved on the design that Willys MB did. It's like on the features on the frame, You know, um, generally Ford, I think, made the better better
The truth
G503.
comes out.
And you know what? I like supporting local. I live in Louisville, so I want to support the Ford products. You know, whether it was from World War II or present products or future products, I like to support the local, the local business. So, uh, so Ford for me would be the better pick. You know,
Does your shirt
and
say
there were
only
and
in a
there.
Willys?
What's that?
Does your shirt say only in a Willys?
No, only in a Ford.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I see that now. So my own take on it is I think actually both companies made them better.
Mhm.
Um, Willys had a good design, and then when Ford signed the contract and started building things, building Jeeps, I think that they improved the design, and I think by the end of the war, um, it was a pretty solid design and standardized between the two of them. And there's minor differences,
Yeah.
although if you have a GPW or an MB, and you're looking at someone's pictures on Facebook, you're gonna it's gonna jump out at you nothing like nothing you've ever seen before. Oh, this is wrong. This is wrong. And and I found GPW parts on my slat. So
Mhm.
in terms of who made the better Jeep, I really think it's all dependent on your Jeep. And first off, we really have no idea today because there's 80 years of history in our Jeeps and 80 years of other people driving them or them being abused or sitting in the rain for 40 years or sitting in a field or sitting in a barn. So we really don't have a sense of what they were like when they were brand new. And much like with new cars and trucks, you don't want the one that was made at 4 o'clock on a Friday,
Yeah. Mhm.
or maybe there was somebody new on the line, or maybe a subcontractor was having a bad day and they put in parts, and there was just maybe a bad run or a couple bad parts in that lot that then made people say, oh, the Ford is better or the Willys is better. I really think they're so similar that it's just really anecdotal.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that point of view. But one of the things I point out when I have an audience and they're asking about the history of the Jeep, one of the things I always try to point out is that the standardized Jeep, the MB and the GPW, is actually a combination of the best features of the prototype of 41 prototype models, and that's what it is. You know, the MB. Before it came out was the government gave them the contract to put together the best features of the 41 prototypes,
Hmm.
and that's why I don't know if you've seen my recent post. I try to post it every so often for the newcomers
Like,
that
which one of the 400 you've done this month?
there were newspaper clippings of the time, starting back in 1944 when the Securities Exchange Commission sued Willys Overland Company for claiming that the Jeep was their design. So they
Hmm.
wanted to point out, and that's a matter of public record, that the government told Willys Overland, no, the Jeep is the standardized Jeep, the G503, is the combination of the best features of the Bantam, the Willys, and the Ford prototype models. So.
Hmm. Just another question, kind of, I was a little snarky earlier, which is my normal state of affairs. I'm
Uh-huh.
very fluent in snark.
Mhm.
Where do you get all these pictures that you post? Like you seem to have every picture that was taken in World War II
The
of the
pictures
military people.
I yeah, I bought some of. I have a collection of pictures. If I can find them in the flea market uh, uh, um, trips that I make, I always look for World War II pictures, and mainly focusing on the vehicles. And then I have friends that give me the pictures. So and then some I mine off the different archives, and I look at the rules of the different archives. If I'm allowed to share it for educational purposes, then I'm allowed to, to share and post them.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to respect whenever possible, if I know the material is copyrighted. But like I said, for educational purposes, usually there's an exception. So when I'm doing my research looking for these photos, unusual photos, and I see something else related to another subject matter, but it's like the nurses, or wax, I already clip it and post it to those different websites.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing, I've been through the archives of the Courier Journal from December 1941 to August 1945.
Mm-hmm.
I've read every single page of that archive. So
Wow.
as I'm going through the pages and I see something related to Bowman Field, then I'll click that. So, but yep, I've spent many years browsing the Courier Journal um, um, archives for
Mm-hmm.
articles relating to the World War II production. As a matter of fact, you know, people say you're an expert in Jeeps. I said, no. I'm still learning. I continue to learn. And it makes me feel good in a way that if I'm able to contribute something new, that some of the individuals that's been doing this longer than I have, that if I can contribute something new. And there's a few articles that I found in the Courier Journal relating to the strikes that happened during the World War II production with Jeeps. And Tom Walbolt actually said, I didn't know that. So now that answers why, this and this happened, the numbers didn't add up because there was a strike. So I found articles that's helping Tom Walbolt in his studies. And I learned a lot from Tom Walbolt. His work really needs support. But like I said, that really made me feel good that I found articles that provided more information about the World War II production.
Was there so you've read all the Louisville newspapers from the entire period? Was there anything really just funny that just popped out at you, like a story you didn't expect to find that just
Well, about the Ford plant, there was a story about there was a flood where the factory was, so they moved all the Jeeps to a nearby park. And
yeah,
that
the
week,
plant is right on the what, Ohio
Ohio
River.
River,
The Ohio River is probably how many yards from the plant? Maybe a couple hundred.
yeah, a couple of hundred, yeah. So in anticipation of the flood, they moved all the Jeeps to a nearby park. And that weekend, I guess, back then, they didn't even think about providing security for the plant. But a group of teenagers started driving the Jeeps around the plot. And so the neighborhood heard the commotion and all that, and called the police, and they arrested a few individuals. So for me, that was kind of funny that you have these teenagers going to this lot and just driving brand new Jeeps.
Wow.
Met with them. And then the other thing that I found, which related to Bowman Airfield, is the story about a pair of actually pants. There was a flight over the area, and it was a bomber. And they opened up the bomb bay doors, and the pilot's clothes were hanging, and his pants fell through the opening, and it landed in a house. So, and the homeowners were really surprised. And back then, the uniforms had your name, so they went to Bowman Field and returned the pair of slacks. So, but and like I said, I've clipped a lot of articles from the Courier Journal. Like I said, I've read every page from December 41 to August of 45. I take that back. I think August 46, because there was a picture of all these crated Jeeps out in a hospital lot that never made it overseas, and they were designated to be sent as part of a Lend-Lease program post-war. And so I was trying to dig up more articles about that, but I never did find anything following up, because they were thought this was back in 46, and all these crated Jeeps were still at the hospital lot waiting to be sent somewhere. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the picture of the building and kind of show people where it's at. What's the address? Was it 4100?
1400, yeah, Southwestern Parkway.
1400 Southwest Parkway.
Yeah, Southwestern Parkway.
Western.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see here. 1400 Southwestern Parkway, Louisville, Kentucky. Got it. Here we go. Now, if it just will pull it up. Where did it go? Hold on. Let me try this again. Have you actually been inside the building?
Yes, one time when it was prior to the sales, a box factory actually was operating from that location, and the operations manager of the box factory is the brother of one of my friends. So I got invited, and at the time I knew it was that's where they built the World War II Jeeps, but I didn't have a Jeep yet, so I didn't really take many pictures at the time. But yeah, I've been inside. Yes.
Okay, I think I finally found it. Here we go. So yeah, there it is. And give you a perspective where it's located. Again, downtown Louisville is down over here. I think Churchill's Downs is somewhere kind of over in here. And then there it is. It's actually in a fairly residential neighborhood. I was surprised.
Yeah. And the neighborhood's really clean, and the roads are wide.
Yeah. It's, again, here's the Ohio River is just right behind it. And I say it's just a massive building. And the that video of me that took 2 minutes had me going basically from here over to here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I believe they parked the Jeeps like over in this area or up over in here somewhere when they were done.
Yeah.
Before they shipped them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is still one living worker that worked at that particular plant, that building, but he started working there in 1946, so he wasn't a World War II production worker. But there's only one surviving worker that's around that worked at the building.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, hey, it's been super fun talking to you today, and we've covered a lot of ground.
Uh-huh.
So hold on, let me. Before you leave the room, we need to play this again. So if you can go ahead and exit now, and then we can move on with our day. Hey, thanks, Mario, for calling in, and we look forward to I'll probably see you at Louisville or at South Bend.
Yeah.
And,
do you go to you're gonna go to do you go to Findlay?
No, I've never gone, and it's I probably won't end up going, but I've heard good things about the show.
Yeah. Portland, Indiana, the ones. I'm using their best practices for those two shows, because the Bullitt County Fairgrounds pretty much it's built the same way. Mm-hmm. So
that's good.
Hopefully, yeah. If you mark your calendar for that weekend, just try to make it down.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. The Vintage Power Wagon show is actually held at the Jefferson County Fairgrounds there in Fairfield, Iowa. So, and they have camping and everything. It's pretty fun. So, okay, man. Well, I'll catch you later. And
thank you.
Hey, thanks for tuning in for this episode of the Peep Show. We covered a lot of ground today. It was a lot of fun. Great to talk to Mario. Actually, every time I see Mario, he's so busy I don't really get to talk to him. So it's been super fun talking to him today. So, hey, thanks for joining in. I will catch you on the next one.